Let's go to Matthew chapter 7. Thinking about storms. A lot of people make preparations when they're building a house for storms. In the old days, you don't see this as much anymore, those hideous humps in the yard. I don't know what that's all about, but usually kind of out in the front yard for some reason, right? We're in full view of everybody. And I guess the idea would be if in bad weather, you run out through the grass and go down that hole. And I don't know, I'd almost take chances with a storm, I think, other than crawl in one of those dank places. But dank. But I know that when Jack's talking about when they build house, people, some of them build in like now a lot of times it's a little different. Now you can have it built into the house. That seems a little more reasonable. And I know they were telling me about when they were recently doing some roofing work on a house Evan's family has down in Mobile, and they did extra steps because they get hurricane type weather down there. So it's different than how you might put a roof on here in Fayetteville, because they know that they're subjected to those strong, wind and rains. And so you have to think about that in certain parts of the country. Well, as we think about our own life, of course, you want to be in a place that is, storm-proof as much as we can be. And Jesus talks about this in Matthew chapter 7 spiritually. He says in verse 24, everyone who hears these words of mine does them will be like a wise man who built his house on a rock. The rain fell and the floods came, winds blew and beat on that house, but did not fall because it had been founded on the rock. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell and the floods came, the winds blew, beat against that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. There's probably some decisions you make when you're building something that it would stand up just fine as long as the weather's nice. But you would find out if you cut corners or if things weren't done properly, you're going to find out when the storm comes. And the same thing could be true of somebody's life. We could all look just fine on the outside and it not be apparent that there's anything wrong, but it's when some storm comes that you discover that you didn't have any foundation, that you hadn't built correctly. I do some of that premarital counseling with people sometimes, and I had the pleasure of doing that with Cole and Ellie recently. And I had the pleasure of doing that with Zach and Nate. And we get to talk about all kinds of things. But I like this passage because Jesus is talking here about building a home. And so if you're just about to start a family, it's like you're going to lay that first, you're just really starting out. And what better way to start out than to build your house on a rock so that you could stand up. You're going to, who knows what you're going to face as a couple in life or as individual people. Who knows what's going to come our way, but you want to be ready for it. And a lot of that decision is made as we're building our house, our spiritual house. And so it's not too late, even if, we've been at this quite a while. We need to examine our home, examine our dwelling and see, are we firm and strong and going to be ready for the storms that come? And the way we can do that is to be sure that we're following the teachings, not just hearing them. That's why we come together. We hear it every week. They says, whoever hears these things and does them, that's how you build on a rock. So it's not what we do here, but it's what we do when we go out. Do we actually take what we've heard and put it into practice? If we do, then we're like that well-built home that's ready for the bad weather. Perhaps there's someone tonight who needs to respond in some way to the invitation. If you do, let us know as we stand and sing.